Hey everyone, it's me, Daniel McFadden, and you're now listening and or watching the third full episode of Movie Takes, our brand new movie podcast. I'm Daniel McFadden. I'm a writer for NBC Sports, and with me is my co-host, James Crow.
Hey, James. I make videos and all that kind of stuff. Um,
Don't
today,
don't undersell yourself, Crow.
anyway, today we're going to be talking about Mad Max Fury Road. It's a post-apocalyptic action film with emphasis on action. It's the fourth Mad Max film after Mad Max, The Road Warrior, Thunderdome. It was written and directed by George Miller, also known as the writer of the original Mad Max films and Babe Pig in the City.
The director of Happy Feet,
Babe Pig in the City and Happy Feet. Yes.
and would-be director of the Justice League.
Yes. It stars Tom Hardy as Max Rockatansky, who replaced Mel Gibson from the previous films. Charlize Theron as Imperator Furiosa. Nicholas Hoult as Nux, and Hugh Keays-Byrne as Immortan Joe, who actually played Toe Cutter in the original Mad Max.
Wait, which character?
Toe Cutter. He was like the main villain in the original, just Mad Max.
And so he was also the villain in this movie?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool thing. It's a interesting film in the fact that it's been in development hell since August of 1998. It was it first started out, the idea in 1998. It was starting to come along, slowly, getting a budget and all that kind of stuff, and got derailed by September 11th. And basically, just the money wasn't there. It got canceled. It's got canceled a whole bunch since then. Like I said, George Miller did Happy Feet and a bunch of other stuff.
He did nothing in between Babe Pig in the City in 1998 and Happy Feet in 2006.
Yes.
I don't know what he was doing, but
he was doing pre-production on this film that apparently, people the world did not want it to get made for a long time. The world wasn't ready.
Well, I saw a story about all the pre-production issues. I didn't read it, so I should probably find that.
Well, originally Mel Gibson was supposed to return. He backed out after after one of the times that it got canceled, which is probably for the best because of Mel Gibson issues. Then at one point, Heath Ledger was in talks to be Mad Max.
I mean, if you think about it, him and Tom Hardy kind of look similar.
Yeah,
a little bit.
So, and they filled similar roles in Hollywood too. Before he died. But there's been a few other people that were in the talks to take over, but eventually, they cast Tom Hardy, and they got their budget, and somehow George Miller was able to get control over so much of the production of this film. And actually do what he wanted to do, which is just amazing to me, especially for how long it took to make and all that stuff. It's just, they gave him the the budget he needed and the control, and I am personally very happy with how it turned out. As far as just on the basis of just as an action film, I'm very, very, very happy. The fact that they were absolutely able to do so much practical work is just amazing. It really sets it apart from almost any other action film that I've seen in a long, long time. It's a wonderful mix of it has the vibe of those Asian 80s action movies, but with like modern, filmmaking techniques, there's so much that they will do now that they have, digital cameras that don't, you can take a digital camera and you can stick it on the end of a pole and have the feed from the camera go to a external source. So if your camera gets destroyed, you don't lose your shot. And we're not just talking about GoPros. We're talking about we're talking about the RE cameras. Obviously, you don't want that to happen because they cost a fortune, but you're not losing everything you have, and that alone, I think, gave them so much freedom to get these like amazing shots and to get all the stuff. And there was so much thought put into how things looked, and making them look realistic, shooting everything as practical as possible, getting, when it wasn't practical, still getting every element possible practical. So down to shooting practical dust effects for comping and all that kind of stuff. It just from that, the visuals was amazing. That, as far as pacing goes, I don't think I've ever seen a film that was just pretty much one nonstop action sequence. Very little, rest, but at the same time, it wasn't fatiguing. I really, really enjoyed the experience of the movie. I really, really enjoyed the, pretty much everything end to end on it. What do you think of it, Daniel?
Well, first, what were your expectations for the movie? You clearly loved the movie.
I did. I'm still pretty excited about it, obviously. But, going into it, I love this type of world, this thing, kind of post-apocalyptic, kind of feel. My favorite novel is The Road, even though I'll never be able to read it again. I love that sort of world. I've seen the previous Mad Max movies. I do not remember Thunderdome at all, and I did watch the first and second Mad Max films before watching this one, like the weekend before I went to go see it. And I enjoy them, but I have a hard time with a lot of stuff from the 80s. There's just something about the pacing that just really hard for me to click on it and really be immersed in it. But at the same time, I enjoy things that are inspired by the 80s. There's things like, Fury Road, where they take kind of the things that I really enjoy about the 80s, the kind of, some of the more absurd kind of things, and they take those and they take the pacing that throws me off away. They take the just atrociously bad acting that you have with, where it's just the really over the top, like beyond theatrical acting. It's just the crazy, this is crazy, so I'm going to act crazy kind of acting. And so, my expectations of it were, I tried my best not to have a whole lot. Like I was influenced to some degree on the, there was a lot of very positive press, pretty much as soon as the movie came out. This is amazing. I saw it. I didn't read a lot of that stuff before I got to see it. But
okay, for me, like I've never seen any of the Mad Max movies at all up until this point. So I had no real basis for what the series was like before this. But in like the 2 weeks leading up to its release on Twitter, more than once I saw movie critics like openly complaining that the studio's embargo on reviews hadn't been lifted yet. After like once it finally was, I finally realized, because they wanted to celebrate this movie for how great they thought it was and stuff like that. I had no interest in seeing Fury Road as soon as I did. I saw it opening weekend, but on Sunday because a friend of mine didn't want to go see Ex Machina, which I did. Um, and I just wanted to hang out with my friend before I left to come back to Texas. And yeah, I saw back in Arkansas. But I have an issue. I really don't know what it is with when there's not when every single critical voice I'm seeing is celebrating a movie, calling it a masterpiece, saying it's unbelievably great and all that, and there's not a single dissenting voice saying anything of the opposite opinion. And it was like that with Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, it's one of those films. I know that you're not a big fan of Fast and Furious, but that's the best comparison. Is because movie critics there was so much excitement of, especially like Fast Five and Fast Six. There's so much excitement from everyone, from your slash film, even to when How Did This Get Made did their review. They just everybody loved it so much, and it's I understand what you mean. Like it can be off-putting because even if you're not trying to get yourself overhyped, it's really hard not to. And it's not even overhyped, but just your expectations just tend to get higher and higher and higher for what you're eventually going to see. And but I'm pretty good at avoiding that, so I think that I may not have been as influenced as you were as far as that having that influence my view.
It's more prominent when I'm indifferent to a movie and there's just 100% praise for a movie. That like if I'm just outright not interested in a movie and there's all that praise, I don't care. But if I'm on the fence about a movie, and there's 100% praise, I'm very wary of it. But if I'm really wanting to see a movie, no matter what the reviews are, and it's 100% negative or majority negative, I go once more into the breach and, like I said, don't care. But when I'm on a fence about a movie and everyone's loving it for some reason, I'm just wary of that movie. And that did I walked into that theater, it's like, all right, this better be the most amazing thing ever. And it was good. It's a good movie. It's got really incredible set pieces. The acting's of no consequence.
Well, the what we normally think of as acting is it is. It's functional because there's not enough of it for it to even be good.
Yeah,
it exists because there's not it could been the best acting ever, but there's so little of that delivery in between action set pieces that it doesn't even really matter that much.
I mean, Charlize Theron's character is the only character that gets any real depth to her.
Yeah.
She does good with what she's given, but
I think that the action, the acting within the action sequence I really enjoyed. I thought I thought that she came off exactly as intended. It's like she is this super badass, confident lady who pretty much puts Max to shame as far as badassness. I really enjoyed is it Nux? I enjoyed his arc, even though it was the timing of it was a little weird. I liked his story.
Yeah.
And even though I enjoy Tom Hardy as Max. He played his role and
all Tom. Okay. Any male actor over the age of 30 in Hollywood that looks like they can kill a guy could have played that role.
Oh, of course.
Tom Hardy. I mean, I really don't know. As far as I know, he spoke 10 lines the entire movie. He was just there to look rough. And
he was there for continuity in the universe, which I totally understand. Like, you're being off-put by going to see a Mad Max colon something else in the title movie and having Mad Max play a secondary role. I understand off-put, but at the same time, the small amount of like kind of outside movie knowledge that I have of the films is that the intention is basically just to be
each movie's like a legend.
It's a legend.
Yeah.
It's basically, it's like, it's presented in the same way as like 300 was presented, where it's you're hearing, a tale told after the fact with the embellishment, with the craziness, with the things that get written down and turn into the big legends that we have to sit through in English class. That's the I enjoy it. I enjoy that take. I like the universe, and even with the older films, I like the universe more than I like the character.
That's like, I'm different because I don't want to spend a lot of time in that universe. It's very rough, and I don't mean that storytelling wise. It's just a rough place to live, and I'd rather like revisit the Tomorrowland universe in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And that's just like kind of what we individually find entertaining, I guess. Like I said, I like the kind of dark and gritty, post-apocalyptic thing. It's just
I mean, and it can be good, and I appreciate the whole approach to it as a legend about a man. But I think you could still do that and give the title character a little more. Trust him a little more of the storytelling. Like we don't even get to see probably his best, coolest moment, because during when he goes off into the dust and gets his weapons back or whatever he did.
Well, like I said, I understand the complaint, but I think that it was definitely very much intentional, and like, I guess this is a minor spoiler, but you have this car that's super iconic to the series, which is his, like, it's the last Interceptor, it's the last V8 that the War Boy is kind of steal at the very beginning of it, and it gets destroyed really early on in the film. And to me, that's, the point of that is to show, like, I
had no idea it was supposed to be iconic.
Yeah.
So it was a little consequence to me, so that's new to me.
But I think that a point of that was to basically show, while this is a Mad Max universe film, it's not a Mad Max film. It's a Furiosa film. And that's what everything after that point was. He was just there. He was there to tell the tale after the fact, basically. He was there to live through it and survive. And that's basically what he is now. His whole thing is he survives at this point. And
the only reason he was there was to tell them to turn around. That was it.
But let's
And the reason he told them to turn around was his vision or whatever, which is the most underplayed part of the entire film, and you have no idea what that's supposed to represent. Is it someone he failed to save? Is it? We're in spoilers already, but
let's say we're gonna go into spoilers.
So, like, at least 3 times throughout the movie, Mad Max has visions of a little girl dying and also telling him to do stuff. One of those things is to tell Furiosa and her crew to turn around and go back to where she had come from with the wives in the film. And I feel like that's the only significant part that Mad Max played in this film, was to be there to tell them to turn around.
Yeah, and it was
and to kill people.
I mean, the thing with Mad Max, in the very first film, basically his like wife and like son get murdered. Like the son gets run over by a car.
Hmm.
It like very brutally, and which is it's weird. It's weird that they have this completely unknown girl in these flashbacks, that are basically saying, it's haunting him, fully is haunting him. That was the one thing that was kind of weird. It's the intention is to basically set up this world that's, you're like I said, you're seeing glimpses of this world, and like there's stuff that has happened, that you have off screen basically. But it still did, it did bother me. It's just as far as it takes you out of the film. But I think that the going back part of it to, like it was one of the worst written part of it. I don't think it was bad. Yeah. It was just, we need to do this now instead.
Like they couldn't figure out how to get them to go in the opposite direction other than Mad Max has a vision of some sort. So
yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it wasn't like a super far-fetched idea. It was, if you keep going, you're gonna die. You don't know how far this is going to be. You have to go with the most certain option.
And the place is undefended now, so you can roll in there pretty much.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay. One thing I loved, this movie had two. It's really one long chase sequence, but you can separate it into two. That has the best convoy chase sequences since Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade, the two best Indiana Jones films.
Oh yes, it's I mean, I have no complaints whatsoever with pretty much anything happening in a chase sequence in this film. It's with the exception of when the redheaded wife finds Nux at the back of the war was it the war
wagon
war wagon or whatever,
the big truck
they're in. That was kind of it.
She's not scared of him at all. It's like,
yes.
Hey, what are you doing here? You just tried to kill us. So
yeah, which honestly isn't the weirdest. Like, it's one of those things that in the context of the film, it's really weird. But if I step back and think about it, she's lived with these people, her entire, I don't know if it's her entire life, but a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't immediately be scared of a war boy just because, like, she should be scared of him because he's, just was trying to attack her.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think the intention there was to show some goodness in the world, maybe.
Yeah.
Which brings him around. And like I said, I did enjoy his story in it. That was a complete surprise for me. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting him to make it past the time when he, like, the point where he came up to the big bad guy and said, "Hey, I know who's on there and I can help." I was expecting him to just get shot in the face.
Thanks, bang.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I wasn't expecting him to survive that, and he did, and he got back on the truck, and then he became an ally and became a good guy and got redeemed, even though he's probably going to die within like a week.
Then he died.
Yes.
Then he died.
Yes.
Sacrificing himself and whatnot.
Yes.
But I feel like the clunkiest part of the movie though was the very beginning, pretty much everything leading up to Furiosa and her convoy leaving. That was like, okay, we need to get to this point as soon as possible because this is the interesting part. So pretty much the first 5 minutes or so with uh, Mad Max being briefly chased and then caught and then tortured.
I didn't have a problem with everything after he got caught. I had the problem with the opening scene, the really terrible CGI, like in a movie with so much wonderful practical stuff.
Which part?
Where he blindly stomps a lizard and then picks it up and takes a bite out of it. To me,
that was bad CGI.
Yes, it was on par with the Prairie Dogs and Indiana Jones for me. But anyway.
Oh, okay. I disagree, but I mean,
anyway. But point being, like, it bothered me. Everything up until he gets in the car and takes off, and then he's all here's supposed to be this big badass guy, and then he gets like taken down in 30 seconds.
One shot, like bam.
One shot, yeah. So that was weird. But then once he gets captured, and like essentially once he like tries to escape, that was really cool, really nice visuals.
I still don't. I could never figure out what they were using him for, when they went out to chase her, on the front. They called him the meat bag, and they were using his blood for something.
Yes, he was a blood.
I don't.
Basically, I think the kind of unspoken thing is that for whatever has gone on wrong in the world, basically the war boys have or the Nux has like leukemia or something like that. So they were using him as a blood donor to keep him alive.
I really don't. That I was thinking about that like through the entire movie. Like, what was his purpose on that to be on the front of their car?
Well, okay. Basically the war boys, like their entire existence is to be this like they're basically in the same kind of they're following a kind of romanticized version of like being like Vikings or something like that. He keeps talking about Valhalla and stuff, and so their goal in life is to be these badass warriors.
Yeah,
and Nux is basically dying. He's on his way out, and he can't survive without the blood transfusion, probably because of like leukemia or something. So but he's also driving a driver, which is the big thing that everyone wants to be. Well, his partner decides, I'm going to be a driver now because you're too sick. And he basically can't leave without his blood supply. So they take him, and just to be badass, basically, they stick him on the front of the car. Like, there's no purpose for him to be on the front of the car other than they stuck him on the front of the car.
I don't know.
I mean, there's also no purpose to having a guy playing. Oh, there is. There's a guy playing a guitar with a flamethrower on it. It's kind of it's not exactly
okay. That was the coolest thing about the entire movie.
Oh yes, it was really great, and the fact that there actually was a guy playing a guitar on a practically made truck full of amps and speakers and stuff.
I mean, I like someone had said like it's like back thousands of years, war parties would have live bands and stuff.
Yes,
get the army hyped up and stuff. And I it's like you would see him and you're like you have to remind yourself, oh yeah, him.
Like it was absurd, but he's definitely served a purpose in the film. Whenever they got ready to go, like he was the first person that Joe basically said, "All right, get going." And that signaled to everybody there, all right, it's time to get going. He was just a really, really badass bugle player from the post-apocalyptic future.
Yeah. Even funnier is that during the final chase scene, Like Max doesn't do anything to him. He fights around him. He doesn't bother him. It's like, okay, you're playing your music, whatever. I'll leave you alone. He just goes about killing everyone else. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
I say, yeah, I that was the most concerning thing that I saw about the film before going into it. It was like, I think this is going to be a little over the top, but I think it ended up turning out to be, one of the best parts of it. And I think that I think that's probably going to be the most iconic thing from this film that, people remember.
Oh yeah, I think so. It's goofy, but it also makes sense, and it's also just cool.
Yes.
It's all three of those ingredients in it. So, and he has a backstory. He's not even given a name in the movie that I can recall, but he has a backstory. His name was Koma the Doof Warrior.
Yeah.
And he was played by an actor named Iota. So, I don't know. And a guitar flamethrower. So, I mean, it could conceivably be used as a weapon, but he doesn't want to use it as a weapon. He just wants to use it to play his music.
I have a feeling that, like, there's going to be incidents in the next couple of years where people set fire with flamethrowing guitars at concerts.
Oh, dude, I can't wait on Halloween. I hope I see somebody this year on Halloween that's dressed up like him. I really do.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
If I see like two guys walking around in a red pajamas, like a red onesies, it's like, I know who you are.
So, you're not as nearly as enthusiastic about the film as I am. There's supposed to be 2 more films that are written, I believe.
Yeah.
That are more or less greenlit. Will you be seeing them?
Not immediately. Maybe a few weeks into the run, but I mean, they're good. It's a good movie. There's fun elements to it, but I didn't walk away from it saying, "Man, I enjoyed that movie." It's just I don't know. It's kind of clunky. The storytelling could have been stronger. The protagonist takes a backseat to Furiosa. I think we should talk about Furiosa a little bit more. No, she's good. I like her arc, though you don't see the beginning of her arc. You don't know why she's driving this truck. You don't know why she finally decided to help the wives escape, other than some character says they begged her to.
Well, her motivation, she has two things that are motivating her. She wants to go home, which we find out basically doesn't exist anymore, and she's also trying to save these people that are she's trying to save her fellow women, that are being held prisoner there, and that plays into the fact that she basically is from a place that is just made up of exiled women.
Yeah.
So that part of it makes sense. We get hints to her backstory, but I was satisfied. I want to know more about her. If there is some extra media that comes out that kind of explains more on her backstory and everything else, I'd definitely be up for consuming it. I was pretty happy with it.
From what I heard, I think George Miller wants to make a movie about her, but I don't know how. Knowing Hollywood these days, I don't know if they would do it without having Mad Max attached to it.
I don't know. I think that
because
you asked that question,
because no one's gonna remember her name,
yeah.
like her character's name. No, like it's a weird name.
Well, I think that if you had like asked that question, before the movie came out, definitely no way. But as much as as big as the movie has been and how well it's done, but also just the critical response to her character, I wouldn't be shocked if that does go through and we do actually get a Furiosa movie. It'll probably be titled something, um, you know.
Oh crap! I just now got it. Fury Road Furiosa. I just now got that. Oh wow. There you go.
So I wouldn't be entirely surprised if we end up getting that film along with the other two. But I like obviously really enjoyed it. I will be, if not opening weekend for the next one without you.
I'll wait 2-3 weeks if it happens. I don't think that it's even officially been given a green light. So.
It has a name.
I know. Yeah. Well, George Miller can say it has a name, but doesn't mean it's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
but it's. I think the movie has been successful enough that we'll probably be seeing a sequel. And
maybe, yeah, probably, but
I'm a little concerned. Like, this movie had 10 years of development behind it, basically, just due to the circumstance. So I'm a little concerned that it may not be able to accomplish as much. But I'm hopeful, and I think that I'm hopeful that you'll be able to repeat. I do think it's really cool that we were able to see such a great action movie out of a guy who is 70 and hasn't done any action movies in 20 years.
Dude, he has a really weird filmography.
Oh yes.
Like, the last live action movie he did was Babe, Pig in the City, a sequel to a movie that he didn't do. That was in 1998. And then in 2000, wait, what year was it? 2007, he did Happy Feet. So, I mean, which is an animated movie. So, I mean, yeah, I find it surprising that he impressive, I guess, that he was able to get this made, even though he made the first three. So,
yeah, but I think this is going to be one of those movies. Whether or not the movie, like the story and all that stuff, is going to is perfect, the filmmaking of it is going to be very influential. I think we're finally going to start getting a batch of action movies where we can actually tell what's going on during action sequences, which will be nice. A lot less shaky cam, a lot less, just cut.
Well, as long as Michael Bay and Paul Greengrass are making films, I don't know if that's true.
But I'm really excited. I'm really happy with the film, and I'm really excited to see how this is going to influence the things coming in the next few years, and hopefully the follow up will be. I will like it as much.
We'll definitely see. That's. I mean, it is a well made. Lots of care put into it. It's. I mean, just it's rough enough around the edges that my enthusiasm is very low for it.
Cool.
So, and like I said, it's not a world I like spending my time in. It's a depressing world. So.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that kind of that wraps things up for us pretty well.
Yeah.
So if you want to contact us, our Twitter is movietakespod. Our email is movietakes.podcast@gmail.com. My Twitter is @Krosky.
And mine is Daniel McFadden, one word. And my last name is McFadin.
Cool. And our next movie we haven't figured out yet, but it'll be probably another,
something that made in this century. So.
Yes. Probably another film off the Ebert Top 100, like Chinatown. And if you have any suggestions, just leave a comment, send us a tweet or email or something.
Tell us what we did wrong. Tell us what we got right. And
I don't think we have time to read everything we've done wrong, Daniel.
It's only our second full episode, so
cool. All right, that's it. See you guys later.
Have a good day. Goodbye.